The grandfather clock in the hallway struck 3 in the afternoon when Maya Williams heard the sound that would change everything. It wasn't just any cry. It was the kind of desperate, painful wail that only a baby in real distress could make. Maya had been polishing the silver tea set in the dining room of the Harrington mansion, her hands moving in careful circles over the expensive metal. When that terrible sound cut through the quiet afternoon like a knife through silk, she had only been working for the wealthy Harrington family for 1 month, but in that time, she had learned to recognize every sound in the massive Charleston estate. The gentle hum of the air conditioning, the soft footsteps of other staff members on the thick carpets, the distant ring of expensive phones. But this cry was different. This cry made her drop the silver polish and run toward the stairs, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Little Noah Harrington was only 1 year old, a beautiful baby with golden curls and bright blue eyes who usually giggled when Maya passed by his nursery. Something was terribly wrong, and every instinct in her 29-year-old body screamed at her to help that child immediately. Maya took the stairs 2 at a time, her plain black work dress catching at her knees as she ran. The crying got louder with each step, more desperate, more frightening. When she reached the 2nd floor, she could hear another voice mixed with the baby's cries. Camille Harrington's voice, slurred and angry. Maya had seen Mrs. Harrington, drunk before, stumbling through the halls in her expensive silk robes at odd hours. But she had never heard her sound quite like this. There was something wild in her voice today, something dangerous that made Maya run even faster down the long hallway lined with expensive paintings and family portraits. The nursery door stood slightly open, a strip of afternoon sunlight spilling into the hallway. Maya didn't knock. There wasn't time for politeness when a baby was crying like that. She pushed the door open, and what she saw inside made her freeze. For just a moment, her mind struggling to process the terrible scene before her. Little Noah was lying on the expensive Persian rug beside his crib, not moving except for his tiny chest heaving with sobs. A thin line of blood ran from his hairline down his pale cheek, bright red against his baby skin. His mother, Camille Harrington, stood over him in her white silk robe, swaying back and forth like a tree in a storm. Her perfectly styled blonde hair was messy, her makeup smeared, and her eyes had that glassy, unfocused look that Maya had seen too many times before. But what made Maya's blood run cold wasn't just Camille's obviously intoxicated state. It was what she saw on the floor, next to the baby. A syringe lay there, its needle catching the light from the window. On the nightstand beside the crib, Maya could see a small mirror with white powder scattered across its surface, a rolled-up $100 bill beside it. The sweet, sickly smell of Camille's perfume mixed with something chemical filled the room, making Maya's stomach turn. This wasn't just a drunk mother. This was something much worse, and baby Noah was hurt, possibly seriously hurt. While his mother stood there swaying and muttering to herself, without thinking about her job or her place in this household, Maya rushed forward and scooped Noah into her arms. The baby's cries quieted slightly as she held him close, checking his head wound with gentle fingers. It wasn't deep, thank God, but he needed medical attention immediately. Camille's eyes suddenly focused on Maya, and her face twisted with rage. "Don't you touch him," she screamed, lunging forward unsteadily. "He's my son. Do you hear me? My son. You have no right to touch him, you dirty black woman." The words hit Maya like physical blows. But she didn't let go of Noah. She pulled out her phone with one hand while holding the baby with the other. Already dialing 911. "He's bleeding, Mrs. Harrington," Maya said, trying to keep her voice calm, even though her hands were shaking. "He needs a doctor right now." Camille's face turned even uglier, her pretty features distorting with hatred. "You're trying to steal him? You people are always trying to take what isn't yours. Lydia. Lydia. Get in here. Lydia Morrison, the head housekeeper, appeared in the doorway as if she had been waiting just outside. She was a thin, severe woman in her 60s who had worked for the Harringtons for 20 years and acted like she owned the place herself. Her sharp eyes took in the scene, the injured baby, the drugs on the nightstand, Camille's intoxicated state, but instead of helping Noah, she turned her cold gaze on Maya. "Mind your place, Miss Williams," Lydia said in a voice like ice. "Family matters aren't your concern. Put the child down immediately." Maya couldn't believe what she was hearing. A baby was hurt, his mother was high on drugs, and these people wanted her to just walk away. "He needs medical help," Maya insisted, still dialing on her phone. "I'm calling an ambulance." Camille shrieked and tried to grab the phone, her long manicured nails scratching at Maya's hand. "You lying witch. You're doing this to make me look bad. You want my husband to think I'm an unfit mother?" The 911 operator answered just as Camille's hand connected with Maya's face in a vicious slap that made her ears ring. 911, what's your emergency? The operator asked. Maya held Noah tighter, turning her body to shield him from his mother's wild swings. 1-year-old baby with a head injury at the Harrington residence on Azalea Boulevard, Maya said quickly, ducking another slap from Camille. "The mother appears to be impaired. Please send help immediately." Camille's screams grew louder, more hysteric. "She's lying. This dirty maid is lying. She hurt my baby. She's trying to frame me." Lydia grabbed Maya's arm, her thin fingers surprisingly strong. "You're making a terrible mistake," she hissed. "Mr. Harrington will destroy you for this. You'll never work in Charleston again." Maya jerked her arm free, still protecting Noah. With her body, the baby had stopped crying and was clinging to her, his tiny fingers wrapped around the collar of her dress. "I don't care about my job," Maya said, and she meant it. "I care about this baby's safety." The sound of sirens in the distance made Camille even more frantic. She grabbed a crystal vase from the dresser and threw it at Maya, who barely dodged it. The vase shattered against the wall, sending sharp pieces flying across the nursery. "You people are all the same," Camille screamed, her face red and twisted with rage. "Always scheming, always trying to worm your way into good families. My husband will never believe you over me. You're nothing. You're nobody. Just a dirty black maid who doesn't know her place." Each word was like poison, meant to hurt, meant to humiliate. But Maya stood firm. She had heard these kinds of words before, had felt their sting her whole life, but right now, none of that mattered. What mattered was the injured baby in her arms who needed help. The paramedics burst through the front door downstairs, their heavy footsteps echoing through the mansion. Within moments, they were in the nursery, taking in the scene with professional eyes that missed nothing: the drugs on the nightstand, the broken glass, Camille's intoxicated state, and Maya holding the injured baby. One paramedic, a young black woman, gently took Noah from Maya's arms while her partner checked his vitals. "Head laceration, possible concussion," she said to her partner. "We need to transport immediately." She looked at Camille, then at the drugs, and her expression hardened. "Ma'am, were you supervising the child when he was injured?" Camille tried to pull herself together, wrapping her silk robe tighter around herself. "This maid attacked my son," she said, but her words were slurred and unconvincing. "I want her arrested." The paramedic looked at Maya's face, which was already swelling from Camille's slaps, then back at Camille. "Ma'am, I'm required to report this to Child Protective Services. The police will also need to be involved." As they loaded little Noah onto a pediatric stretcher, Maya brushed his soft hair back from his forehead. "You're going to be okay, sweet boy," she whispered. Noah reached for her, his little hand grasping her finger, and didn't let go until the paramedic gently separated them. Camille was being led out by another paramedic, stumbling and cursing, promising that everyone would pay for this humiliation. Lydia stood in the corner, her face unreadable, but Maya could see the calculation in her eyes. She was already planning how to spin this, how to protect the Harrington name, how to make Maya the villain of this story. As the ambulance pulled away with its sirens wailing, Maya stood in the destroyed nursery, her cheek throbbing, her dress torn, but her conscience clear. She had done the right thing, no matter what it cost her. The sound of an expensive car pulling into the driveway made everyone still in the house freeze. Richard Harrington was home, the master of the house. The billionaire businessman who controlled half of Charleston's real estate market was about to walk into the aftermath of this disaster. Maya heard his voice downstairs, sharp and demanding, asking what had happened, why there were ambulances at his home. Lydia's voice answered, low and urgent, no doubt already painting Maya as the troublemaker, the one who had caused all this chaos. Heavy footsteps on the stairs, and then Richard Harrington appeared in the nursery doorway. He was everything you'd expect from a man of his wealth and power. Tall, handsome in that cold carved-from-marble way, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Maya made in 6 months. His eyes, the same blue as his son's, but without any of the baby's warmth, surveyed the scene, the broken glass, the drugs still visible on the nightstand, the blood on the carpet. "Where is my son?" Richard's voice was controlled, but Maya could hear the danger underneath. "At the hospital," Maya said, meeting his gaze directly. He hit his head. He needed immediate medical attention. Richard's eyes narrowed as he looked at her, taking in her swollen cheek, her torn dress. "And my wife?" "Also at the hospital," Maya said. The paramedics thought it best. She didn't mention the drugs or Camille's intoxicated state. Let him see the evidence himself. Let him draw his own conclusions. Richard walked to the nightstand, his expression darkening as he saw the mirror, the powder, the syringe on the floor. "You called 911, he said. "It wasn't a question."
Yes.
Maya said simply, "Your son was hurt and needed help."
Yes.
Richard turned to face her fully, and Maya could see the war playing out behind his cold eyes. His family's reputation versus his son's safety. His wife's lies versus the evidence right in front of him. His pride versus the truth. "Lydia tells me you attacked my wife," he said. "That you've been causing trouble since you arrived. That you're trying to extort money from our family." Maya felt anger rise in her chest, hot and sharp. "Your son was lying on the floor, bleeding while your wife was too high to help him," she said, her voice steady despite the fury building inside her. "I did what anyone with a conscience would do. I helped a baby who needed help. If that makes me a troublemaker in your eyes, then so be it." Richard's jaw tightened. "You don't know anything about my family? You've been here 1 month. You're nobody, just hired help who doesn't understand how things work in houses like this." There it was again. Nobody, nothing, just hired help. Maya had heard these words her whole life, from teachers who didn't think she'd amount to anything, from employers who saw her as less than human, from people like the Harringtons who thought money made them better than everyone else. "You're right," Maya said, lifting her chin. "I am just hired help. But I'm hired help who saved your son's life today while his mother was too drugged to notice he was hurt. So you can fire me. You can try to ruin my reputation. You can do whatever you want to me. But we both know what really happened here today, and all your money can't change that." For a long moment, Richard Harrington stared at her, and Maya stared back, refusing to lower her eyes, refusing to back down. Then his phone rang, breaking the tension. He answered it, his face changing as he listened to whoever was on the other end. "I see," he said. "Yes, I'll be there immediately." He hung up and looked at Maya with something that might have been respect or might have been calculation. "That was the hospital," he said. "The doctors want to talk to me about Noah's injury and about what they found in my wife's system." He walked past Maya toward the door, then stopped. "Pack your things, Miss Williams. Your services are no longer required." Maya felt the words like a punch to the stomach, even though she'd expected them. She needed this job desperately. Her mother's cancer treatments were expensive, and she had no savings, no backup plan. But she kept her face neutral, her shoulders straight. "I'll be gone within the hour," she said. As Richard Harrington's footsteps faded down the hallway, Lydia appeared in the doorway, a small, satisfied smile on her thin lips. "I warned you," she said. "I told you to mind your place. Now look what's happened. No reference, no final paycheck, and I'll make sure every household in Charleston knows what kind of troublemaker you are." Maya started to walk past her, but Lydia grabbed her arm. "You think you're some kind of hero, don't you? Saving the poor baby from his bad mother. But you're not a hero. You're just another black maid who got too uppity, who forgot her place, and now you're going to pay the price." Okay. Maya pulled her arm free and looked Lydia directly in the eyes. "There's something you forgot," she said quietly. Lydia's smile faltered. "Slightly. What's that?" Maya pointed to the small black dome in the ceiling corner, the security camera. "Everything that happened in this room today was recorded. Every slap, every insult, every second of Camille being too high to help her injured baby. Mr. Harrington might fire me to save face, but that footage exists. And someday, when it matters, when there's a custody hearing or a divorce, or just a moment when the truth needs to come out, that footage will still be there." Lydia's face went pale. She clearly hadn't thought about the camera. Too focused on protecting the family's reputation to remember that their own security system had been watching everything. "That footage belongs to the Harringtons," she said, but her voice was less certain now. "It will show whatever they want it to show." Maya smiled sadly. "Maybe. Or maybe someone already made a copy. Maybe someone thought that a baby's safety was more important than a rich family's reputation. Maybe the truth has a way of coming out, no matter how much money you throw at it to make it go away." As Maya walked to her small room in the servants' quarters to pack her few belongings, she thought about little Noah in the hospital. Probably scared and confused, wanting his mother but not understanding why she wasn't there. She thought about her own mother, sick and needing treatment that Maya could no longer afford. She thought about all the times she'd been called nothing, nobody, just hired help. But she also thought about the security footage that she'd managed to copy onto a flash drive while Lydia and Richard were talking downstairs, the evidence now safely hidden in her car. She thought about the paramedic who had given her a knowing look and whispered "good for you" as she left. She thought about doing the right thing, even when it cost everything. 6 months passed before Maya heard anything about the Harringtons again. She had found work at a small daycare center, making much less money, but surrounded by children who didn't care about her skin color or her background, who just wanted someone to read them stories and kiss their scraped knees. Her mother's treatment had to be scaled back, but they were managing, barely. Then one day, a well-dressed woman appeared at the daycare, asking to speak with Maya privately. She was a lawyer, she said, representing Richard Harrington in his divorce from Camille. They needed Maya's testimony about what had happened that day in the nursery. They needed the truth. Maya sat in the small office of the daycare, looking at this polished lawyer with her expensive suit and perfect hair, and almost laughed. "Mr. Harrington fired me for telling the truth," she said. "He chose his reputation over his son's safety. Why should I help him now?" The lawyer leaned forward, her expression serious. "Because Camille is trying to get full custody of Noah. She's claiming that you attacked her, that you planted those drugs, that the whole thing was a setup to make her look bad. She's hired the best lawyers money can buy, and without your testimony, she might win. Maya felt her heart drop. Little Noah, back in the hands of a mother who had been too high to help him when he was hurt. She thought of his tiny fingers wrapped around hers, his tearful blue eyes looking up at her with trust. "What about the security footage?" she asked. The lawyer's expression turned grim, mysteriously erased. "The only thing that might save Noah now is witness testimony. The paramedics will testify, but they arrived after the initial incident. We need someone who saw everything." Maya was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a flash drive. "I have something that might help," she said. The lawyer's eyes widened as Maya explained about the backup she'd made of the security footage. Within hours, Maya was in a law office, watching as tech experts verified that the footage was authentic, unedited, and showed exactly what Maya had said happened. The video was crystal clear. Camille, obviously intoxicated, stumbling around while Noah lay crying on the floor. Maya rushing in and immediately helping the baby. Camille attacking Maya while she tried to call for help. Every slap, every racist insult, every moment of a mother choosing drugs over her injured child. The lawyers watched in silent shock, and Maya saw one of them actually tear up when little Noah reached for Maya as he was taken away on the stretcher. The custody hearing was swift and decisive. With the video evidence and testimony from Maya and the paramedics, the judge awarded Richard Harrington full custody of Noah, with Camille only allowed supervised visits after completing a rehabilitation program. As Maya left the courthouse, Richard Harrington was waiting by the doors. He looked older than she remembered, tired, like the past 6 months had aged him years. "Miss Williams," he said, and for the first time there was no coldness in his voice. "I owe you an apology." Maya looked at him. This powerful man who had fired her for saving his son and felt ... nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just emptiness. "I don't need your apology, Mr. Harrington," she said. "I just hope Noah is safe now." Richard reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. "Your final paycheck plus 6 months severance, plus a bonus for what you did for Noah." He held it out to her, but Maya didn't take it. "I didn't help your son for money," she said. "I helped him because it was the right thing to do, because he's a baby who needed help, and I was there. Not everything is about money, Mr. Harrington." Richard's hand dropped, still holding the envelope. "Then what can I do? How can I make this right?" Maya thought about her mother, about the treatments they couldn't afford, about the pride that had kept her from taking charity. Then she thought about Noah, about other children who might need help someday. "Create a fund," she said. "A fund for children whose parents struggle with addiction, for families who need help but can't afford it. Name it after Noah if you want, but use your money to actually help people instead of just protecting your reputation." Richard nodded slowly. "I'll do that. And Miss Williams, the daycare where you work, I heard they're struggling financially. An anonymous donation will be made to ensure they can continue operating and expand their services." Maya finally smiled. Just a little. That would be good. The children there deserved better resources. As she turned to walk away, Richard called after her. "The video? How did you know to copy it?" Maya looked back at him. "I didn't know. I just thought that someday someone might need to see the truth. Turns out I was right." She walked away from the courthouse, away from the Harringtons and their marble mansion and their complicated lives. But she didn't walk away empty-handed. A week later, the daycare received a donation of $2 million from an anonymous benefactor. A month later, the Noah Harrington Foundation for Children was established with a $50 million endowment. And 6 months later, Maya's mother received a call that her medical bills had been paid in full by an anonymous donor who simply said, This is payment for a debt that can never truly be repaid. Maya never saw the Harringtons again, but sometimes she would receive photos in the mail. No return address, no note, just pictures of Noah growing up. Noah taking his first steps. Noah on his first day of preschool. Noah laughing on a swing set. A healthy, happy little boy who had been saved not by money or power or influence, but by a black maid who heard a baby cry and rushed upstairs, even though what she saw inside left her horrified. Sometimes doing the right thing costs everything. But sometimes, just sometimes, it saves everything too. And in a world full of people who would look the other way, who would mind their place, who would choose comfort over conscience, Maya Williams had chosen differently. She had chosen to be the person who runs toward the cry for help, no matter the cost. Years later, when people asked her about that day, about how she found the courage to stand up to such powerful people, Maya would always give the same answer. I heard a baby cry. That's all that mattered. A baby was crying, and I could help. Everything else, the job, the money, the threats, none of that was as important as that crying baby. Because at the end of the day, we're not measured by how well we mind our place or how quietly we accept injustice. We're measured by what we do when we hear someone cry for help. And I really hope, that if you ever hear that cry, you'll rush to help too, no matter what horrors you might see, no matter what it might cost you. Because that's what makes us human. That's what makes us good. That's what gives us hope. That the world can be better. The story of the black maid who rushed upstairs when she heard a baby cry became legend in Charleston. Whispered in the servants' quarters of the grand houses, shared in the break rooms of hospitals, taught in the training sessions for social workers. It became a reminder that sometimes the smallest people can do the biggest things. That courage doesn't always wear a cape or carry a badge. That sometimes it wears a simple black dress and carries a mother's instinct to protect a child. Any child, every child who needs help. And in the end, that's all that really mattered. Not the mansion or the money or the powerful family, but the simple act of hearing a baby cry and rushing upstairs to help, no matter how horrifying the scene that waited inside. Because Maya Williams was right. We are measured by what we do when we hear someone cry for help. And on that terrible afternoon in the Harrington mansion, when she heard a baby cry, the black maid rushed upstairs. And what she saw inside left her horrified. But it didn't stop her from doing what was right.